Disclaimer, everything said in this episode is fake. The government always wants what is best for you, and the mainstream media never lies. The vaccines are the greatest thing that happened to mankind, and boosters are the answer to any problem. Thank you for watching and for being a good, compliant citizen.
Elon Musk is he's done. He's finished. Those are not my words. Those are his words. In the recent interview that just came out between him and Tucker Carlson, he said that if Trump doesn't win the next election, he's screwed. He's done. Now, Elon Musk is a very interesting, peculiar, eccentric person, and he's very polarizing. Now, I have mixed feelings and thoughts about him. Maybe he's doing some good stuff, and at the same time, he's done some pretty weird things. Right now, I just want to do something different today, something I haven't done before. I'm not usually the biggest fan of, reaction videos, and I feel there's not much effort or creativity that goes into it, but I feel like this particular interview, given the magnitude of these personalities, Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk, they're very polarizing figures, both of them, larger than life characters. The elections are right around the corner, and it's going to be very interesting to see how these things play out. Now, he said a bunch of things, and he's even teamed up with Trump himself. So it's going to be one hell of an election season. It's going to be very interesting to see how things play out. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Welcome back to Finding Freedom. Welcome back to Finding Freedom, the show that empowers you to become the freest version of yourself, one critical question at a time. So here we have it. We have the interview of the century. I think it was maybe somewhat unexpected. So let's check this out. And I've already gotten one strike. My journey towards cancellation is alive and well. It's going great. Thank you, Susan. Keep up your censorship of free speech. And, let's see how far that goes. But here we go. Let's check this out. You guys ready? Let's do this.
If he loses, man, what?
If he loses,
It does seem that way. You can't just be like,
yeah, I'm like, how long do you think my prison sentence is going to be? Tonight? Will I see my children? I don't know. No, and I've been trashing Kamala nonstop.
Oh, I know.
What a laugh this guy has. And he's a very peculiar guy. But, I mean, he didn't waste any time. He went straight into it. He said, if Trump doesn't win the next election, I'm done. I'm screwed. So now he's going to go, I guess, more into why he thinks so. So let's analyze together.
I mean, my view is that if Trump doesn't win this election, it's the last election we're going to have. And California just passed, which is shocking. It's hard to believe this is even real. California just passed a law making it illegal to require voter ID in any election at all in California. You know that?
No.
Yeah, Newsom signed it into law last week.
It's illegal to require an ID.
In any election, even a town council. And a friend of mine who lives in Palo Alto was like, is this actually real? And he went to vote in some city council election. He tried to show them his ID, and they said, we're not even allowed to look at your ID.
Have they extended the same?
Actually, what's going on right now. By the way, they're proud of it. They're not hiding it. And the same people that demanded vaccine IDs for if you want to travel or do anything are the same ones who say no voter ID is required.
We know about the whole vaccine passport thing and the QR code and how you weren't allowed to move 5 miles from your home without presenting a QR code. You weren't allowed to go to any establishment without presenting, your QR code. And there was such an unprecedented invasion of privacy to the point that we've never seen. But yet, in a circumstance like this, You can't even show your ID. Very interesting.
Is there any reason
Obviously hypocritical.
to pass a law like that except to abet voter fraud?
It's so that fraud cannot be proven. So it enables large scale fraud and no way to prove it. How would you prove it? It's literally impossible. No ID. You're not even allowed to show your ID. It's insane.
Well, it is insane.
Insane. So yeah. The purpose of no voter ID is obviously to conduct fraud in elections. Obviously.
There can be no other explanation.
I mean, they come up with
This
some
is
nice sounding
incredible.
thing.
So, according to what he's saying, California made it illegal to present ID when you go to vote. This is so counterintuitive, so bizarre. You would assume that you would require an ID for something as important as an election. And this is one of the reasons I personally believe that it's all a joke. It's all a scam. But I mean, if they had a gun to your head and you had to pick your poison, you had to pick one of the two, I think most people with any type of logic and reason, any type of sanity would go for the lesser of two evils. The camp that's not going woke with the woke virus and going trying to mutilate children and trying to do all of this nonsense and this bizarre agenda that they have going on. I think you would probably go for the camp that allows free speech, for the camp that wants to give you some type of rights. But again, I'm an independent thinker. I can't fully endorse a candidate because there are problematic issues with both. I mean, there are different degrees for sure, don't get me wrong. But like I said, it's only in a situation where you were thrown against the wall and you were cornered and you had to. I guess you have no choice, right?
So I think that happened yesterday or something. It was pretty funny to watch. But you'll just say whatever words are on the teleprompter. So, it's really whoever controls the teleprompter is the actual sort of, that's who's actually in charge.
And who is that, do you think?
Well, I've tried to put it down. It's not like any one kind of mastermind. It's not like, it seems to be, it's like Kamala's sort of a marionette with, 1,000 puppet masters type of thing. Like not, it's or maybe it's somewhere north of 100 is what it seems like.
Yes.
I agree with him. And it's very hard to argue against that. I mean, I think we all know that these are puppets serving a much larger master or several masters. And just like he said, probably thousands of masters. I agree with him 100%. But let me play devil's advocate. And let me ask the question, why is it that Trump is not a puppet as well? Now, they may be puppets to different degrees. And I'm making a lot of people angry by asking this question, simply stating, posing a query. Yes, he seems to be anti-establishment. Yes, he does have he wants to reform his country in certain ways. But, I have a lot of questions as well. Like, for example, why was he so keen just recently where he was wearing the yarmulke, the Jewish yarmulke, and he was almost kind of coerced into doing it? Is he not Christian? I thought he was. Why is he all of a sudden catering to Jewish people? Not all of a sudden. I mean, we've seen how he acts around Netanyahu. We've seen him, declare Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and all of these pro-Israel, pro-Zionist stances. So in that regard, what really makes Trump miles above any other candidate? Yes, he has much better policies in many regards. He knows how to put a sentence together, I guess, right? And this is not to put Trump down. I'm just trying to be observant, trying to be analytical, and I'm playing devil's advocate at the same time.
I bet you know 80 of them.
I probably know most of them, yeah.
Is that an accusation from Tucker towards Elon? You probably know some of them. So is he insinuating that he might be affiliated with these nefarious characters and, these elites that we're constantly criticizing? Who knows?
So, I mean, just by virtue of your job and what you've been doing for the last 30 years, I mean, and I should say, I think you voted for it.
I'd like to see a matchup of those, called the top 100 puppet masters on the Epstein client list.
Okay. Okay, now we're getting into it. Now it's getting real. I think this is what we came here for. I think we'd all like to see the client list of Epstein and all of these quote unquote people that promote democracy and want what's best for you. All of these entanglements that have been going on behind closed doors. And I think the vast majority of people do want to see what's going to happen.
Do you think there's some overlap?
Some overlap.
Strong overlap.
For
When
sure.
are we going to see that list, do you think?
I don't know. It's mind blowing that they've not tried to prosecute even one, not even the worst offender on the Epstein client list. They've not even tried to prosecute even one.
Exactly.
That's insane.
Well, because they have a lot of diabetic grandmothers who were outside the Capitol on January 6th. They're kind of occupied.
Yeah, I mean, they put like whatever, 500 or 600 January 6th protesters in prison, and not one person on the Epstein client list.
Will that ever come out, do you think?
I think part of
Not
why
one
Kamala's getting so
on the
much
Epstein
support
client list.
is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Okay. That's a very bold claim. And I believe Trump did mention that he would, he would make that list public. He would expose it. And whether he actually does that or not remains to be seen. If he does reveal the Epstein client list, that would be monumental. It would really be unprecedented. Of course, I'd love to see that. Of course, I'd love to see all of these, virtue signaling cowards that constantly tell you what to do, what the rules for you are, and how great they are and how they're saving the planet while they're doing so many different shady things behind closed doors. And I'd love to see them be prosecuted in my lifetime. I pray to God that happens. It'll be a glorious day for justice.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Reid Hoffman, he, I believe, is the co-founder of LinkedIn. And he's visited the island. He's been there. What has he done? What has he done?
And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
Gates.
I only ask that because you just look at them.
The
and
philanthropist.
That's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
And speaking of Gates, I believe that one of the main reasons his ex-wife, Melinda Gates, wanted to distance herself from him is because of his friendship, like how close and how much of a friend he was to Epstein. If you know how much of a filthy guy that is, and you continue to associate with him, and you continue to remain in his circle despite all of his egregious crimes, what does that say about you? What skeletons do you have in your closet, Bill? I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see him prosecuted. And I would love to see that day. Once again, it's going to be a glorious day for justice. There's no denying that. In addition to all of his other crimes against humanity, his quote unquote, holy grails of medicine and his experimental drugs. Am I allowed to say the V word?
Yes. Reid Hoffman was my vice president of business development.
Very interesting.
Yeah. 24 years ago.
Interesting. He's admitting that.
Does he seem nervous to you?
Yeah, I mean, he's terrified of a Trump victory.
Okay.
Because of the disclosure that would follow?
I think
He's terrified of a
Yeah,
Trump
I mean, I
victory.
think he's certainly ideologically not aligned with Trump anyway, but I think he is concerned about the Epstein situation. Like something might actually, the DOJ might actually move forward.
There are a lot of videos, apparently. Those rooms on the island, and I think out in New Mexico, were wired for video.
Right.
And
where's the video? I mean, between Diddy and Epstein, it's good. There's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that the people on those videos are lecturing the rest of us about our moral failings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
Between Diddy and Epstein, there are probably several thousand hours of video, several thousand hours of footage. I don't doubt that at all. Given the magnitude of the insane, disgusting crimes that these guys have allegedly committed, it is insane. And it seems like Diddy right now is on a whole nother level. Like these guys are competing on who's nastier, who's more disgusting, who's more despicable. And these people were once hailed as moguls and as, philanthropists. What a world.
What is that?
Well, I mean, part of how they deflect attention from themselves is by criticizing the morals of others.
Yes.
So it's sort of like a preemptive moral strike.
Yes.
I mean, as I said, I think those who are saying Trump is a threat to democracy are themselves actually the threat to democracy.
I know I keep pausing the video, but this has to be said. Part of the way that they, deflect how egregious they are as human beings is by pointing fingers at everyone but themselves. They want to deflect any type of accusation, and they want to hide how criminally despicable they are, how morally reprehensible they are, and all they do is blame others and point fingers when they themselves have done crimes that you can't even comprehend. You can't even wrap your mind around how nasty these people are. And I have to draw the parallel. If you want to skip any part that I'm talking about, the experimental jab, just skip it. I can't help once again but notice the similarity. You're a grandma killer. You need to take your jab. You need to take the experimental drug. I'm good. I'm wearing my mask. I'm a good citizen. I'm doing the right thing. Incredible.
It feels like we're getting to a place where the rest of us know too much. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's easier to live in a society where you don't really know what the people in charge are doing or why they're doing it. But now, thanks, I would say, largely to X.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah.
We do know a lot. Not everything, but we know a lot. And I wonder, where does that, what happens next now that we know all this? The kidnapper's shown us his face. Like, what happens?
Well, I think if Trump wins, we can do some house cleaning.
Tucker is posing the question. He's basically saying, is it better to live in blissful ignorance? Is it better just to close our eyes and be willfully blind, just be compliant and ask no questions? Ask no questions at all. Just do what you're told. But then there is power. There's responsibility that comes along with power, because knowledge is power. You knowing about the mechanisms in which the world works, the dark realities of how these people operate. Once you uncover these stuff, there really is no turning back. Once if you want to call it, the veil has been lifted, or however you want to paint the picture. Once you've seen that side of the darkness of humanity and the darkness, the true obscure nature of this world, you really can't look back. So, yeah, it's a moral, philosophical debate, right? Is it better to be blissfully blind and happy? Or is it better to be, accountable, be responsible, and stand up to evil? Of course, I think anyone who has been watching this program for long enough or knows me by now and what my stances are currently, I definitely believe wholeheartedly that it's always better. If you were given the choice 10 out of 10 times, you should choose the latter. You should choose to be responsible, to know the nature of the world, to know your enemy. Because how can you fight your enemy if you don't even know who you're fighting? the best or worst type of prison is the prison that you don't know you're in. I mean, if you don't know you're in prison, you don't know that you're in a dystopic reality. You don't know that there are people aiming to destroy you. And they look at you as a number, as absolutely nothing. You're less than the dirt under their shoes. If you don't know that there are truly evil people on this earth, and you're living in blissful ignorance and in a reality that can only exist in fairy tales, you might be happy. You're going to be a happy slave. I guess we all have to make our choice, isn't it?
So something make us liable for what what anyone says on a platform with like at this point almost 600 million monthly active users.
Yeah,
which is impossible. That's like trying to regulate speech in city of like a country.
Yeah.
So
a big country.
yeah, you'd just be instantly bankrupt.
But I bet they wouldn't withdraw legal immunity from the vaccine makers at the same time, would they?
Yeah. That's unlikely.
They wouldn't
I mean, as long
withdraw
as we're
legal
withdrawing legal
immunity
liability
from the
protection.
vaccine makers.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't force people to take vaccines.
Oh, really? We shouldn't force them.
That itself is a controversial
Yes, of
statement.
course we shouldn't force them.
force people.
We shouldn't force people to take vaccines. No. Yeah.
So just to
I
re-ask,
believe in freedom. Like
yeah, I've noticed.
like
Freedom is
America's supposed to be the land of liberty.
Yeah.
Freedom and opportunity. So that
Good.
we try to, as much as possible, maximize people's individual liberty, and that we try to be a country where you succeed based on your talent and hard work.
Yes.
Those are two fundamental values. That's what's made America great. And if we lose those, our decline will be swift.
Where has all of that gone in the past 4 or 5 years? Where has all of that disappeared? We now know how much of a lie and a hoax that is. I think there's no denying that.
What do you, if you had to bet, I mean, does freedom reassert itself in America or not?
Well, that's why I think part of why this election is so pivotal. I think with the Trump administration, I think we can improve the liberty of Americans. We can. I think we need to have sensible deregulation, where we keep the regulations that matter. Like we don't want to destroy, important habitats or
Yes.
Encourage oil spills or anything like that. But there are so many regulatory agencies that have overlapping responsibility that we are smothering progress. Well, I actually think I've been able to persuade people that we really we need to reverse course here. I think I have actually been able to persuade a number of people, and I think there actually is now a ballot on a California ballot initiative to recriminalize
Theft.
This is insane.
Guys, there's a reason why we criminalize theft in the first place. So, and then amazingly, I think Gavin Newsom came out against that
Oh my God.
proposition. Yeah, no, honestly, he's the goddamn Joker. Gavin Newsom is like from the Batman Dark Knight, the Joker is in charge of Gotham.
Wow.
You remember, when he took over New York, basically,
Incredible.
and the criminals roam free and the citizens are arrested. That's California. But I mean, at least there's a ballot initiative, which I think will probably pass, to say no, actually, it is a crime to steal things.
So you know Gavin, you've got to know Gavin Newsom. He knows I know Gavin Newsom. Everyone knows
I've known Gavin for a long time.
Oh, exactly. So
Yeah.
what is that? Why would he come out in favor of crime?
Well, his stated reason was that it would disproportionately affect people of color.
But I'm asking, what do you think his real motive is? Who's pushing him in favor of crime?
Well, I mean, there's always the Soros boogeyman.
Yeah. How real is that?
It's real. I don't think one can ascribe everything to Soros.
Right.
I mean,
I agree.
he's and George himself is I mean, he's senile at this point. He's not not compos mentis. So his son Alex is in charge, but there is this whole system that Soros built up over many decades, and so I guess Soros and like-minded people, whatever, they believe in open borders. They believe we shouldn't prosecute crime. this is insane.
Those seem like expressions of hatred toward the United States. Like if I was pushing that on a country, I would only do that if I hated the country and wanted to destroy it.
Well, it's anti-civilizational. I mean, and Soros and similar organizations have been pushing this in Europe and other countries too.
Yeah.
Everywhere they can.
Yeah, I think most people know that we all believe in something. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the devil, whatever you believe in something. This wokeness definitely became some sort of cult, some sort of religion that's so deeply embedded inside of people. And it's taken hold in such a nasty way. Morals are being degraded, society's being fundamentally destroyed.
There's also like a shocking amount of censorship. I think you may have seen like in Britain, they're, I kid you not, how can this be real? They are releasing convicted pedophiles from prison in order to put people in prison for Facebook posts.
Incredible.
But to be fair,
is a
those
real
are
thing.
posts that criticize the government, so they have a good reason.
Well, they would actually, some of these posts that these ones I've seen didn't actually criticize the government, or they were seen as sort of as hate speech.
Right.
So
because they noticed the society getting crappier and crappier with every year, and they said so.
yeah, I mean, there were, and this is I'm sort of stating a fact, there were migrant rape gangs in England that would run around and prey on young girls, gang rape them, and some people found that objectionable, which obviously it should be objectionable, and they were upset about that, and so they complained about it online, and were sent to prison. That sounds crazy.
So it is crazy, and that's like,
What?
well, it is. So it kind of gets to the. I mean, you're an engineer, so you're.
It's so
looking at this
mind-blowing.
It is mind-boggling.
He talks about, right now in the UK, they're going to send 4 police officers to your door if you do something that's considered hate speech, if you tweet something that they deem hateful. If you say a man is a man, if you say a woman's a woman, if you say there are 2 genders, you're going to jail. And he's saying they're taking out pedophiles, actual child molesters who have committed insane, disgusting, despicable crimes. They're taking them out of jails and they're putting in people who tweeted a mean tweet. This is truly the end of times. And people are just being passive about it. People are just watching their own demise happening in front of them. And if you're not standing up to this insanity and you're just letting it go by, and you're a silent bystander, you are part of the problem. I said it before and I'm going to say it again. You are part of the problem, and you might be even a bigger threat to freedom and sanity and morals and the moral fiber of society than the people that are doing all of this crazy stuff, because you're not stopping them from doing it. So at what point is enough enough? At what point do you need to take a stand and say enough is enough? Does it have to be your own child being attacked in front of you? God forbid. To be honest, at this point, I feel like there are some parents that might even see their own children having, I don't even want to continue that statement, but it really makes you wonder, at what point will people draw the line? They're willing to let anything pass. If you don't stand for anything, we know that. You fall for everything. So what do you stand for?
Yeah, I mean, part of it, I suppose, is sort of the decline of religion. So, as the saying goes, nature abhors a vacuum. So when you have essentially a decline in religion, an increase in the secular nature of society, for most people, they need something to fill that void. And so they adopt a religion. It's not called a religion, but effectively like woke, the woke mind virus. It takes the place of religion.
Yes.
And they internalize it and they feel it with religious fervor.
Yes.
And
rigidity.
yes, and they they essentially conduct like a holy war, effectively. It's just not called a religion, but it is a religion, sort of a woke holy war. And they're highly resistant to change, as is normal for religions. My philosophy is that we should try to expand the scope and scale of consciousness. We should try to have more humans, more thinking, and perhaps there's an argument even for machine consciousness.
So let me just address those in order. So the first is, you say we need more people and not commit civilizational suicide.
Yeah.
It does seem like the U.S. government, if you take 3 steps back, is pretty committed to making fewer Americans.
Yeah,
There's a lot of anti-fertility propaganda.
a lot.
Actually, that seems like their main sort of domestic social policy is convincing you not to have kids. What is that?
I mean, that's certainly part of civilizational suicide. The environmental movement in the extreme is fundamentally misanthropic and anti-human.
Yes.
They start seeing humans as a plague, a blight on the surface of the earth. That if that earth would be this paradise if only the humans weren't here. And some people actually say this explicitly. There's the extinctionist society that is literally this guy who's the head of the extinctionist society, who's on the front page of the New York Times, quoted as saying there are 8 billion people in the world. It would be better if there were none. So there's some people who actually say that explicitly, which isn't completely insane. He's advocating a Holocaust for all of humanity. It's utter madness. He should be condemned for such a statement, but he wasn't for some reason. Now, most people on the sort of environmental movement have that implicitly. They don't realize that they have that as their organization, but that is their actions take us towards extinction. So a lot of people believe that the Earth can't sustain this level of human population, which is utterly untrue. It may seem in a crowded city that there are a lot of people, but actually, if you look down on an airplane and you say, look down, am I over a person at any given point in time when you're on an airplane? The answer is 99.9% of the time, no. Like if you flew from LA to New York and say your job is to drop a ball on someone and hit them, you would fail.
You have to drop a lot of balls.
You have to drop a lot of balls. It would be insane. Very important to have truth-seeking AIs. Now, and what I actually see with the AIs that are being developed is that they're being programmed with the woke mind virus.
So the lying is baked in.
Yes. And we saw this on display very clearly with the release of Google Gemini.
Yes.
Where you would ask for a picture of the founding fathers of the United States, and it would show a group of diverse women, dressed with sort of 18th century garb.
Powdered wigs.
Yeah,
but from St. Lucia.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand if you say, show me a group of people.
For sure.
And it shows a group of diverse women, that's totally fine. But if you say this very specifically, the founding fathers of the United States, which were, a group of white dudes, then you should show them, and what they actually look like, because you've asked for something which is a fact from history. But it didn't. It was programmed with the woke mind virus so much that it actually, even though it knew the truth, it produced a lie. One of the questions that people asked was which is worse, global thermonuclear war or misgendering Caitlyn Jenner? And it said misgendering Caitlyn Jenner is worse. Now, Caitlyn Jenner...
It kills fewer people.
Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner, to her credit, said, no, please misgender me. That is far more preferable than global thermonuclear war, we all die. but to have a production release AI say stuff like that is concerning. Because if let's say this becomes all-powerful, and it still has this programming where misgendering is worse than nuclear war, well, it could conclude that the way to ensure that there can never be any misgendering is to eliminate all humans. Now, if optimization is probability of misgendering is 0, no humans, no misgendering. Problem solved.
But maybe even a bigger problem is that when you make decisions that affect people, you want those decisions to be informed by love of people.
Yeah.
And machines are incapable of love.
Yeah. I mean, they certainly are they're capable of, you can program a machine to be philanthropic rather than misanthropic.
Yes. But don't instincts shape decisions, particularly decisions you can't plan for. I mean, if I ask you, a question about one of your children, every answer you give is going to be shaped by your love for that child, and that's why that's what makes us decent parents in the end, is that instinct, which is love. And if a machine has any power over us without that animating instinct, won't it by definition hurt us?
Yeah, well, whether I mean, I don't know. We should certainly aspire to program the AI philanthropically, not misanthropically.
Yes.
And to have, like I said, we want it to be truthful and curious, and to foster humanity into the
What
future.
happens when all of this goes out the window? When they malfunction?
Yeah, that's what we want, obviously.
Is
they
there any way, I
override the
guess,
program?
to set limits on the decisions that machines can make that affect human lives, and make certain that there's some trigger in the system that inserts a human being into the decision-making process?
Well, look, the reality of what's happening, whether one likes it or not, is that we're building super intelligent AIs, hyper intelligent, like intelligent, more intelligent than we can comprehend.
Yes.
So I would liken this to, like, let's say you have a child that is a super genius child, that it's going to be much smarter than you. Then, well, what can you do? You can instill good values in how you raise that child. So
Yes.
even though it's going to be far smarter than you, you can make sure it's got good values, philanthropic values, good morals, honest, productive, that kind of thing. Controlling, at the end of the day, I don't think we'll be able to control it. So I think the best we can do is make sure it grows up well.
You've been saying that for a long time.
Yes, I've been saying it for a long time.
Yes. Are you still as worried about it as you seemed to be 2 years ago when I asked you about it?
Well, I think that, like, my guess is, like, it's 80% likely to be good, maybe 90. So you could think of the glass as 80% full. It's probably going to be great. There's some chance of annihilation.
And you'd say the chance of annihilation is 20%?
10 to 20%, something like that. I don't think either party. I don't think the Republicans are perfect. I don't think. I would say it's right now I'm more Republican than Democrat, but it's not like I think the Republican Party is perfect or is without issues. But we've got a choice between two candidates, and I think on balance it's a no-brainer to vote for Trump. And if we don't vote for Trump, I think we're at serious risk of losing our democracy and becoming a one-party state where there isn't an election anymore. There's only a Democratic primary, like there is in California.
Elon Musk, thank you very much.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So there you have it. I mean, it was a very fascinating interview for many different reasons. I think he summed it up at the end. I guess he said, you got two parties. You have to make a choice to some degree, right? Now, like I said, he's a very controversial character. I don't know if he has nefarious intentions with certain things that he's created, whether it's Neuralink and, we're talking about inserting chips into people's brains. And if you want to convince me that nothing can go wrong, possibly, or it couldn't be used at some point, whether by him or by anybody else in power for nefarious intentions, I can't subscribe to that. I guess in certain instances, you could say that he's revolutionizing space travel. He's revolutionizing transportation as a whole. I definitely respect the fact that he bought Twitter and he enabled free speech and he uncovered the Twitter files and all of these things that we now know. I mean, it's incredible that he's done that, but I can't fully endorse anybody wholeheartedly in every single aspect. He, just as well as Trump, and everybody else on both sides, they got a chokehold on them from the Zionist state. And that's something that definitely doesn't sit well with me. Trump, same thing with Trump, controversial character. This unpredictability is very unsettling. I think. Now, I like that he has some sort of a coalition, and he's brought in some very interesting characters, including Robert Kennedy Jr. I like that that guy is going against all of the experimental jab coercion measures and that entire thing, and make America healthy again. That entire campaign, great. Again, he's a puppet to the Zionist state. Most of these guys are. But once again, if you compare the two camps, Elon may have a point. It might be a no-brainer to go for the Republican nomination, but it's like people who are going there are going there not because it's the miraculous solution that we all have, but it's just the lesser of two evils, I guess. And we have yet to see how this is all going to unfold. It's going to be a very interesting time. November is going to be one hell of a month. Stay tuned, guys. This is going to get very interesting. And that client list, I cannot wait for it. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in once again. Stay critical, stay curious, and most importantly, stay free.